Hey, what's up, folks? It's Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, the channel that always has your back and tells it like it is. Well, today's video is going to be a 2024 price prediction for Polkadot. Now, if you've been following Polkadot, they're roughly about number 14 in the top 100 coins in the world with a market cap of right about $8.7 billion. From that, there is a significant amount of the supply that is currently staked, and we have some huge updates and announcements that have been coming out recently on Polkadot to get this thing moving again. It's been a little bit sluggish for 2024, which is a big reason why I wanted to do this video, because it looks like it's teed up for a big comeback. So we're going to be covering that in today's video, and then we're going to be getting into what I think a price prediction could be and wrapping it up with some final thoughts. So, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And now, let's get it going. All right, welcome back to anybody returning to the channel, and welcome aboard to anybody new. We're going to kick off today's video right here with one of the recent announcements regarding Polkadot. So this one here is concerning asynchronous backing. And let me just preface this video by also saying that I am not going to go super technical on any of this stuff. I'm just going to kind of cover the highlights at a high level, and then we'll move on to the price prediction part later on. All right. So that being said, asynchronous backing paving the way for Polkadot 2.0. So what is asynchronous backing, right? Obviously, all of this plays into Polkadot's potential performance for this year. So essentially, Polkadot's fellowship has approved the successful implementation of asynchronous backing, marking the debut of the first significant advancement in a series of upgrades that will culminate with the much anticipated Polkadot 2.0, right? That's a big deal, 2.0. So this new feature essentially reduces block time by half from 12 seconds to just 6 seconds, enabling parallel transaction validation and block production and delivering up to 10 times higher throughput for Polkadot's parachain consensus protocol. So that's the big thing here, right? This is kind of the big takeaway from this article, is that we are increasing throughput by roughly 10 times what it is currently. So this is a huge deal. Basically, we are adding efficiency. We are making Polkadot smoother, more efficient as it goes along. Now, scrolling down a little bit here, looking ahead to Polkadot 2.0. So they mention here that Polkadot 2.0 represents a collection of network advancements, which include Agile core time, elastic scaling, and the asynchronous backing, which we just covered. So let's go over and check out Agile core time. So here is the page from Polkadot that talks about Agile core time coming soon. So essentially, innovate without boundaries with Agile core time. It gives you access to the right amount of block space for every stage of growth. Never overpay for block space again. Now, really what we're getting at here, and this is kind of unique to the way that Polkadot works, is Polkadot historically has their main chain, and then all the other chains are connected to it. So their main blockchain is Polkadot. All the projects that are built on it are chains that are connected to that. Okay. Now, they're saying here essentially is that you wouldn't overpay again. So what are they implying? Well, going back in time with Polkadot, you had to essentially win what they referred to as a parachain auction. And so basically what that means is that you're kind of jockeying against however many other projects within the same window, and whoever gets the most investment essentially wins the parachain. That's how it worked, right? The problem, though, with that is you could have somebody that significantly overpays for a parachain. And what we mean by overpaying for a parachain is that anybody who has the Polkadot coin, or investor or investment group, what have you, when they invest into the parachain, that gets locked up for a set amount of time, which I think I want to say was 2 years. Okay, so it's quite a long time to lock up your entire investment of Polkadot that you put into this, right? Now, you don't obviously have to take all your Polkadot coins. That's not how it works. But however many coins you wanted, if you wanted to participate in them securing their slot, To be part of Polkadot, you had to do that, and then it would lock it up for 2 years. Well, what this is getting at here is essentially never overpaying again. It's doing it all in a completely different way with this agile core time, essentially. So get ideas to market fast, grow sustainably, maximally cost effective, yada, yada, right? So what this is geared at, the bottom line here is this is geared at those development teams and those projects that would be built on Polkadot. For example, somebody like a Star, Glimmer, Pokedex, Trace. There's quite a few that are on Polkadot right now. And this is kind of who that is geared at. So it is an improvement. It is a change in the parachain auctions. It's basically like a different payment structure, a way to buy your way onto the chain that should be more efficient and, let's say, not as rigid in terms of these timelines. It seems that the timelines are something they're really kind of looking at lately, right? So that's basically what this is. Now, our next item here, elastic scaling. So streamlining growth on Polkadot. So basically scaling a parachain beyond one core assignment, a new model, elastic scaling, enabling extra cores. Again, this is talking all about efficiency, right? Cost-effective scaling, comparison to other scaling models, blah, 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 right? So something else that's in here, Core Jam, as outlined by Gavin Wood in Dubai last week, is a more far-reaching general extension of Polkadot's core model than Agile core time or elastic scaling on their own. And I'm going to be talking about that in 1 second also, the Jam, which, by the way, is a great name, the Jam, right? So essentially here, in this new model, let me cover this just a little bit. So the established Polkadot model is that prospective projects apply for slots by participating in an auction. That's what I just talked about, right? A new project that wins an auction becomes a parachain. The auction determines how many tokens need to be locked. Under the single core model, this means a lease period of anything between 6 months and 2 years, which when I did this, I actually did this with Pokedex. It was, I want to say 2 years, okay? Now, Agile core time, which is already in the process of being implemented, changes this as it allows more flexible assignments of cores. Core time refers to the right to use a core on the relay chain. The new changes will permit the purchase of one or more cores for shorter periods of time, such as 1 month, 1 hour, or even one block through on-chain purchase from a secondary market. So that's the Agile core time, right? Elastic scaling enabling extra cores. So these two changes, multiple cores per parachain, right? That's kind of what we're getting at. I really don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole because I think sometimes this is where Polkadot loses the average investor is with all this technical speak. And what you got to realize in context is that all of this comes from Dr. Gavin Wood. He's kind of the big brain behind this. He was a significant brain behind Ethereum and the Ethereum virtual machine. He's the inventor of that, kind of the whole way Ethereum works. And so some of this stuff with Polkadot can really get very technical very quick. And I don't want to delve too far into that. So the bottom line here is if you're following these updates, it's all about improving efficiency, improving the payment model, making it easier for the developers that want to work with the chain, etc. All right, moving forward. Okay, so the Jam. Now, I didn't want to do like a full page review on the Jam, so this is like a quick snippet here in an AI view, which is pretty nice. So Polkadot's Jam, or Joint Accumulate Machine, is a proposed design to replace the relay chain. So this is the whole way it's set up, right? So it's a completely different design. It's built as a distributed computer that can run almost any task that can be expressed as a service. Jam combines Ethereum's smart contract functionality with Polkadot's parachain architecture, providing shared security and native scalability. So again, this is straight from Dr. Gavin Wood. This is kind of the way of the future here for Polkadot, the Jam, right? That's what we want. We want the Jam. All right, moving forward. Now, here's another thing that actually just came out a few days ago. So Polkadot's new proposal to slash unstaking time to 2 days. So Previously, as it states right here, Polkadot's new proposal aims to reduce the unstaking time from 28 days. That's where it previously was. 28 days, an entire month, to just 2 days. So again, this is where I was kind of saying earlier, Polkadot has had these very kind of rigid timelines that aren't very flexible, right? Everybody today, I don't care who you are, needs flexibility. And the developers need flexibility within Polkadot. And the investors also need flexibility. Those staking, those securing the network, etc., need flexibility within Polkadot. And this kind of gives them that, all right? So we would go from 28 days, an entire month, to just 2 days if you decide you want to unstake your coins from Polkadot. So that's a pretty big deal, right? Huge deal that was just announced just the other day on June 20th, all right? Now, from there, staking. Let's talk about staking a little bit. So you can stake a couple different ways with Polkadot. Now, as of right now, they've got the current numbers here posted on the website. So total nominators, basically 37,000. Total supply stakes, 58%. That's pretty good, right? That's honestly pretty good. That's nearly 2/3 of the entire supply is staked. What is the historical rewards rate? 14.29%. Again, this is really good also. This is one of those things that's always kind of lured people into Polkadot. And I'll kind of explain why it's at that level, how this whole thing works. One thing that you got to realize with Polkadot is that I would say that Dr. Gavin Wood, he's kind of like a purist when it comes to blockchain technology, cryptography, game theory. He's not really somebody who wants to have like layer 2, layer 3. I even saw that on one of his recent interviews where he was like, he doesn't want to do that. He just kind of wants it to work in its purest form, right? And so a lot of that plays into Polkadot, and I'll kind of explain some of the staking as well here in a second. But essentially, why stake on Polkadot? So it's built for maximum security, decentralization, fair representation, right? So it's secure, it's decentralized, and when you stake, you can participate in governance if you do it on mainnet, right? So move over middleman, right? Stake like a pro directly on the network. It was never easier, essentially, with their new staking dashboard, right? So proof of stake, that is how Polkadot works. Where you can stake. So we have native staking. So this is why I was just talking about on mainnet. So the way this would work, if you wanted to stake on mainnet, you essentially would buy your coins on a Coinbase, a Binance, or wherever you're getting them at. You would move those coins to your wallet. For Polkadot, I have always used the Polkadot.js wallet. That was kind of the main one. You would move it to there, and then you would connect it to mainnet. Okay, and from there you could stake. Now, what the terms are: low limit, 1 dot, fully trustless, decentralized, blah, 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 best option, network security. Staking dashboard. This is one thing that's pretty cool that you can do, that staking dashboard. Currently, I'm not doing that, but you can do the staking dashboard. Essentially, options to suit different levels of experience and time commitment, right? Now, there's also here third-party decentralized protocols that you could stake through them, or there's custodial exchanges. So this would be like your Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, etc. Right? Different ways you can participate: join a nomination pool, open a nomination pool, nominating directly, running a validator. Those are kind of your options here. And then in terms of the dashboard, the new staking dashboard, right? This is actually a pretty neat little dashboard. You really can't see a whole lot of detail unless you're actually staking your coins on there. But like I said, all you have to do is put your coins into a wallet, connect the wallet to this dashboard, and then you could stake them. It's that easy, all right? All right, moving on from there. So here is coin market cap over on with Polkadot, right? So here's the all-time chart here for Polkadot, right? It's kind of like the Grand Tetons, right? We kind of got these two big mountains, and then it kind of trailed off. Okay, that's where we're at currently. Now, in terms of market cap, as I mentioned earlier in the intro, we're at about 8.7 billion, number 14 Volume, roughly 98 million, number 42. Total supply is 1.4 billion coins. What is the max supply? Infinity. Okay, so this is one thing I wanted to talk about, is that Polkadot is a inflating cryptocurrency, and that is by design. All right. As far as I'm aware, I do not think there is a burn mechanism with Polkadot. It is an inflating currency, which is part of the reason why it returns such a high rate at all times. Okay. All of this is by design, so it all kind of offsets. So typically in the cryptocurrency world, some people get scared away from coins that do not have a max supply. The reality, though, is that, again, going back to Dr. Wood as a purist, if you're looking at it in that sense, if you cap the supply, then you're sort of like hamstrung the entire blockchain ecosystem, right? Because you only have so many coins, and then you got to kind of work with the coins that you've got. And I mean, you can kind of go back and forth on this. Obviously, I invest in coins that are both. Okay, some of them are inflating, many of them are not. Just because this one is, my point is, that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it whatsoever. It's like that by design, by arguably somebody who's one of the smartest, brightest minds in the entire space, who has a doctorate in this, right? Like, he knows what he's doing, okay? And so that is why it is infinity. So it does go up at an inflationary rate, but when you're staking, you can still make a significant return here with DOT. Now, one of the knocks against DOT historically has been kind of like marketing, right? So one of the things that's really critical in the crypto space you have to have is marketing. And a lot of that comes in through community, through blockchain type person. When I think about like Cardano, for example, Hoskinson is always on Twitter. He's always doing videos. He's always tweeting. He's out there. He's posting a picture at the airport, yada, yada. You don't really see that, or at least I don't see it in my feed. And I follow Dr. Wood, and I don't see any of that stuff. Really, where I see him is things like Polkadot Decoded, the big conferences that they do around the world. He shows up at those. He occasionally does do interviews. They did an X call recently the other day with Raoul Paul, huge investor, right? And he does show up in those, but it's just a little bit different. So that's one of those things that it's kind of like, why isn't Polkadot getting over the hump? Well, maybe that's part of it, right? So it's kind of like we've got all the tech, like our tech skills are through the roof, but maybe we're a little weaker on the marketing side. And I have seen it on X where a lot of people, especially in the community and especially some of the whales, have gotten frustrated at times with that. And there's been this sort of tug of war and a bit of a battle in terms of the decentralized governance. All right. So that's some backstory. Now, looking at the chart here. So right now, this thing is roughly at about $6.10. That's where Polkadot is today. Okay. Previous all-time high was all the way up here, roughly about, I think it was somewhere around $55. So it's just slightly higher than this, right? So roughly about $55, $6.10 today. That's where it is. Now, Polkadot itself is all over the place. It's on Binance, it's on Coinbase, OKX, Bybit, Upbit, Kraken, Gate, HTX, Bitfinex, whatever. 41 pages of where this thing is. So my point in that is that there is plenty of liquidity spread all across the cryptosphere when it comes to DOT, okay? Now, moving forward a little bit, here is DOT in the list of the top 100. So as I mentioned, it is number 14. It is this cool little polka dot circle here thing that catches on fire in this pink flame. That's pretty neat. Nobody else has an animated logo. I don't even know how they did that, but pretty cool. Kind of catches your eye, right? 7-day percentage, it's up 6%. Overall, not really a lot to write home about right here. So we're going to go over to TradingView, all right? Now, on TradingView, this is the DOT chart right here. So kind of going back in time, you can see the two big mountains. And I've got it kind of focused on the area we're at right now is sort of the most important spot. So let me just kind of make this a little bigger here. So when you zoom out, one of the things it becomes apparent right away is the volume, right? So at the bottom here, this is the volume. You can kind of see it trailing downward. And a lot of this coincides, I mean, this goes back to 2021. This coincides with the bear market that we all went through, where we all nearly, imploded from boredom and just awful investment environment. Which again is why I kind of stopped doing these price predictions for a while, because you can't price predict when everything's going down, right? You can't do that. Now, where we're at today, if we kind of focus on this area right here, like I said, is about $6.10. Now, for a 1 year window, this is not January 1st. This is a year from today. So today is June 29th. So going back in time, June 29th, roughly the last year, Polkadot is only up 21%, which, you look at this chart and you go, it's not really anything that great, right? Nothing really to write home about. Now, what I like about it is if I go back over here to CoinMarketCap, so this is the all-time chart, right? So you can kind of see here, I mean, look where we're at right now. We're near the bottom, right? I mean, if this is the top and this is the bottom, we are near the bottom, okay? I like charts like this because anything that is near the bottom really has a lot of room to go up. And that's been kind of catching the attention, I think, of a lot of influencers. I've seen various little, news snippets about it, things like that, where people have said, DOT is teeing up for a big time run here, because look at how far it is off the bottom and look at where the previous all-time high was, right? Roughly about 55, we're at 610. So going back over to TradingView here. So I've got a couple of my indicators on here, and I've got the Fibonacci here. This is the color-coded chart right here. And you can kind of see here, I started this here roughly at about the beginning of the year, and this is the end of the year. So this colored area here is the 1 year time frame. We're already halfway through it, right? And if you look at that, we're basically down from January 1st. DOT is down as of today. Most recently, a basically sell indicator did come through at about June 7th, 8th, 9th, somewhere around there, okay? And it's been kind of down ever since, which means basically, again, that the buy indicator is right around the corner here, okay? Now, historically with cryptos, their previous cycle high, they tend to do something that is somewhere in the ballpark of, let's say, like a 3x that, if possible, okay? So 3x of DOT's previous high, so let's kind of look at this here. Their previous high, there it is right there, right? So 55 or so would be 165. So if we're looking at the chart here, kind of zooming out again, this is how far you got to zoom out here. We'd be looking at somewhere up here would be DOT maxing out going into this bull market. So I don't think this is happening in 2024. That's not what I'm implying whatsoever. But if it were to happen, it would be 2025. So 2025, could we hit 165? Sorry, right about up here, right? Is that possible? And again, look where we're at now. So, they always say in crypto, when in doubt, zoom out, right? So when in doubt, zoom out. So here are the Grand Tetons. We've gone down, and we're just sort of kind of flatlining right around this same line. We are basically at the bottom right now, right? There's no better time to buy than at the bottom, okay? And by the way, this is not investment advice. This is Jesse's just personal opinion, my own education view. That's how I view this, all right? My own opinion, all right? So no better time to buy than at the bottom. Now, what can it do for 2024, right? So if we think we're going to get anywhere near 165, what can we possibly do for 2024? So remember, we are already 6 months through this year, all right? And remember, cryptos can only run so far on so much energy. Okay. Now, being that we're at the bottom, and being that there's currently some, let's say, market geopolitical-ish factors, there's a lot of various things kind of weighing on Bitcoin right now. Everything rides Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin is the moon that influences the tides, and it will influence DOT one way or the other. Now, what you really want is you want a project kind of like this, that it's got rock solid community, it's got the blockchain catalyst person. They are changing it as time goes on, right? The things that aren't working, they are updating and they are changing. These are all good things. It has staking, has a good rate of return. It's got all of those things going for it. It's also got liquidity. It's all over the place, okay? These are all great. Now, what it doesn't have, like I said earlier, is it doesn't have really that marketing catalyst salesman trumpeting it, okay? You know, it doesn't have let's say, a Michael Saylor type person who posts every day about how all he's doing is buying DOT and he'll buy DOT to eternity. It doesn't have that. Now, it did have, as I mentioned earlier, Raoul Pal was on that call, and I'm assuming he was a DOT investor. That's a pretty big name. There are a lot of other big names that are also invested in DOT, but who all they are, to be determined, right? So, can it go? Where can it go up through here, right? So if you look at this year, arguably this point in time from roughly about January 23rd to about, let's say, March 15th, so roughly about a 2-month window is about its biggest impulse. You know, it kind of went from roughly, let's see where it bottomed, roughly about, let's say $6 up to 12. So it doubled. Okay. Now, where it's at now is kind of that exact same area. You see that? It's kind of at the exact same spot. So to double, theoretically, if we're going to kind of follow the same sort of chart, I mean, that's kind of like a 2-month window. So then you'd have about 4 months after that. Okay. And that's assuming that it starts rebounding here soon. Okay. It's also kind of assuming that it doesn't really have any pullbacks, which it has to have some pullbacks. So obviously, so far this year, it's had two major buy impulses, 3 sell pullbacks. Okay. So where I think it could go is if you're following DOT here and you're following these various Fibonacci kind of resistance support levels, it's going to take it a little bit to break back up here. Okay. Like I said, a couple months. There could be a little bit of pullback in there, etc. And then what you really need is for something like DOT to catch fire. Okay, that's what you really need. You really need like a big news piece somewhere, a big partnership, a big something to drop here. More so than just, hey, we're updating it, we're making it better, we're updating it. Yeah, those are all great, but you still need kind of that catalyst. You need that spark. Okay, so if DOT can get the spark, I kind of see DOT. Honestly, I think it could go all the way above the line right here, this level, this resistance support of roughly $22.38, and that kind of floats between $22.38, $28. I think it's more than possible for DOT to do that, especially at just $6 today. So that's basically about a 4 to 5x. I think it ends 2024 somewhere in this range. That's a 4 to 5x. Now, I also think it could be possible, again, if it catches fire, if the market catches fire, for it to even get up into here somewhere. But maybe it goes back down again and finishes the year somewhere in this zone. Obviously, the higher to 28, the better. That's where we'd want this thing. And then that kind of tees it up for 2025, where it would only need a 5 to 6x to do that 3 times its previous all-time high, which is definitely doable. So if you're looking at these impulses, it's basically like, let's say 5 to 7, 4 to 7x each time it does a huge impulse. And we're trying to see, can we get 2 of those in before the market resets at some point in 2025? That's kind of where we're at, right? And typically, if it were to do that and the market resetted, then it would stay somewhere around this area, would be its new baseline, right? Our baseline would go from down here all the way up to where that first impulse, kind of that first major impulse gets us. Okay. So that's kind of where I see DOT going. So from here today, from $6.11, I think it probably, and it may float around up into here somewhere, but I think it probably ends up stopping. I'm hoping like 28-ish, somewhere around that ballpark is kind of what I'm thinking. So that's nearly a 5x on this thing. And by the way, let me say also, sometimes in crypto, I remember when I first started my channel, I got a lot of hate for, especially on price predictions, right? So, a lot of people think, Jesse, it's just going to 100x, it's going to 1000x, right? You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're looking at. Yeah, I do. And most of my price predictions were fairly close, going back in time. Also, putting this in context, if you have something like your traditional investment accounts, you're not making anywhere near this, not even close. Like you're lucky if you get like 16, 18% on the year, period, 16 or 18%. I'm talking about like 500%. So this would still be a massive prediction for DOT to increase all the way to here. By the way, if DOT were to go all the way to the roughly 165 area, that's a market cap of like $230 billion. So that is absolutely massive, okay? Is that impossible? No, it's not impossible. Look at Ethereum. Ethereum's market cap is absolutely huge, right? What is Ethereum at? Let me look. Ethereum's market cap, $406 billion, okay? And Ethereum obviously has been around longer. So is it possible for DOT to do something like this? Sure, it absolutely is. The other thing you got to think about is that right now in this space, total crypto market, 2.26 trillion. Well, a lot of people, myself included, think that in this bull cycle between now and next year, that the total market cap of the crypto space could go all the way up to $10 trillion. I think it's more than possible. The only thing that's been holding us back, especially recently, has been one of the things is in the Bitcoin ETFs, it's Grayscale. There's a leak in Grayscale because their fees are too high. So they keep losing, everyone's adding, and the whole thing stays flat. It hasn't had that catalyst to pump everything up. Then on top of that, we've got, various governments. I think it was Germany was selling Bitcoin that they got confiscated somewhere. The U.S. government moved some Bitcoin over to Coinbase that they confiscated from the Silk Road. Okay, great. So sell pressure, sell pressure, sell pressure. And that's why we've been sort of flat recently when, by all accounts, we should be moving further than this, right? Also, we've had a lot of miners. I've seen a couple posts talking about Bitcoin miners that haven't died yet. The need to kind of sunset themselves, and then the market will have that next impulse, which by all accounts it is teed up to do, especially if you follow something like stock to flow or the rainbow chart, right? So the bottom line here is all of this figures in now, and could DOT get all the way up to $230 billion? Yeah, it could. But you got to remember, all of these are going to go way up. Everything is going to go up when the big money comes in here. And that has not happened yet. If you follow, like the various Google terms and whatnot, nothing has returned yet. Okay. So what that tells you is that the public doesn't have FOMO yet. The public's sort of sleepwalking, right? The people who are in this, the people who are in it today are all the ones buying at the bottom. People like me. Okay. I even posted something earlier today about how, gains are made in the trenches. Game on, right? True statement, right? So going back here to our chart, I think by the end of the year, DOT makes it arrow straight up basically from where we're at now, somewhere in this ballpark. I'm hoping for like 28-ish. That would be absolutely awesome because, again, when we go into next year, if you could squeeze a 5 to 6x out of that, then you're looking at potentially like 3 times the previous all-time high. And I think that would line up historically with how cryptos traditionally move, right? So that's what we've got in our price prediction today. I'm going to wrap up today's video now with some final thoughts. All right, now let's wrap up today's video with some final thoughts. So in today's final thoughts, if you hadn't been able to catch on, I have been following DOT for a very long time. I have been investing in it for quite a while as well. I really like it as one of those kind of steady, stable investments that steadily goes up over time where you can make a significant staking reward. That is one of the big things that caught my eye with DOT was staking. The other big thing that caught my eye with DOT is Dr. Gavin Wood. You cannot understate his influence on Polkadot enough. It is absolutely significant. He is a cryptographer all the way to the core, and essentially he wants the purest system that there can be here for crypto. Now with that, could he potentially, like, let's say, get lost in the sauce a little bit, get too technical at some times? Kind of, right? The one knock against DOT is historically it has kind of underperformed. And really, that kind of has to do with the marketing side of DOT. Now, one thing I always say with projects that have challenges with marketing, right? I talk about this in a lot of my Jasmy videos, challenges with marketing. If you yourself are not the good marketing person, bring somebody else in, right? It is more than okay to bring on somebody who is really good at marketing and let them market it, right? And maybe Polkadot needs to do that at some point. As you've seen in the various news releases, I think the average person probably gets completely lost in this stuff and it probably goes way over their head, right? Now, that shouldn't take away, though, from DOT itself being an absolutely excellent cryptocurrency and blockchain, which it is, okay? So it's kind of just been working through these various issues that have happened. As they innovate, not everything always works, and then you need to sort of pivot your strategy. One thing that I absolutely love about crypto is that things can always change. A lot of people don't realize, all you need is a few governance proposals and the whole project's completely different. And that's kind of what's on the horizon here with Polkadot. This whole thing could be turning around very quickly. And so when you look at the chart, you look at the bottom, that's where it is today. There's a lot of opportunity for upward movement while you can get those staking rewards all along the way. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can stake it on mainnet. Me personally, I have my Polkadot staked on Coinbase, right? I used Coinbase for that. Now, I do have another project, Polkadot, that I actually stake with them on mainnet, okay? So I kind of did it different in two different ways. With mainnet, you can make a higher return, but historically it's been a little more challenging, a little more tech-focused. And let's say the lazy way is kind of just leave it on the exchange, and if they offer rewards, cash them in. That's kind of what I've done, okay? And honestly, there's nothing really wrong with that, right? The exchange essentially takes a little cut of those rewards is the way that it works. But those are out there, and they are significant. So DOT's been around quite a while. Has it kind of historically underperformed? Maybe, but it's still number 14. Okay, it's in the top 20, right? It's in the top 100. It hasn't had any significant issues. It's more so just sort of internal, kind of some strife and I think some issues between various holders, whales. I've seen some posts about some kind of whale type quarrel things where they're disagreeing with a decision that's made, yada, yada. That's what happens, though, in decentralized government. So there is no really perfect solution there. And Polkadot is not suddenly not going to have a decentralized government. That's how it is. That's how Dr. Wood will have it. Again, as sort of a cryptographer purist, I think that's where it is. So what I'm hoping for, as I said earlier, $28-ish by the end of the year would be absolutely amazing. And then from there, you get another potential 5-6x next year to a new all-time high. That would be amazing while earning your staking rewards all along the way. So big potential here. That's why I wanted to cover this one. I've been combing around lately, kind of looking at coins that I think have the most potential for a big run-up. And I saw some new headlines drop like just today, and I thought that's hilarious because I was looking at the same thing. And so that's why I figured I'd put the video out, put it out right now. You basically have 6 months till the end of the year. Should you decide you want to take a look at DOT. And like I said, I mean, if it does what I think it could, you'd be looking at making 400, 500%, which is absolutely amazing and would dwarf anything you're going to get anywhere else, especially like a 401k. So Just my opinion, just my 2 cents, not financial advice. Do your own research. So, if you enjoyed today's video, as always, make sure to hit the like button. Don't forget that I'm also on Twitter. You can find me there at KIR Finance. I'm in various Twitter calls, posts, you name it, I'm all over the place. Check out my website, kirfinance.com. And lastly, for a friendly reminder, this is Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, the channel that always has your back, tells it like it is, and I will see you on the next one. Later.